Hi, Ryan. I'm going to do screen share of your speech. And most of us as kids had parents read to us bedtime stories before growing up. For me, I had a little bit, okay, on the shelf, and I could choose what book I need to read. There had been over 100 books on my, okay, but oh yes, of course, I remember this. I read this before. Okay, so that was when I was six. So, okay, and then he started talking about Aristotle, I think. Okay, so, but looking back, there's a lot of benefit of or forcing my brain to do this same imagination as a child, not the pictures. But I'm so thankful for my parents for that. And there was one set of book that was all that was on my dad's bookshelf in his office that was written by some guy named Plato. As a kid, I thought, who would name their child after the torso? Sweet, that is so cute, Plato, and was kind of interested in those books. But my dad said there were these were some of the books he had to read in college, and it would be hard for me to understand. I hated being told that I couldn't do something as a kid, so I cracked it open and started reading a small book called Apology. That's a good start, right? I read the book, and I actually did need a little help understanding it, which kind of got me frustrated. But again, looking back, there was a lot of benefit of forcing my brain to follow Aristotle's argument to the jury and thinking logically. After that, I thought that I took a break for reading, and I kind of and any kind of philosophy book for the next 10 years, because it was at that point of time I became interested in the outdoor sports and thought reading to be boring. Okay, so that there's a transition. So that kind of making us think whether it completely slipped away. I don't personally, I know that you're going to be talking about Aristotle, but as such, if I was an audience who have no clue about who you are or what your speech is going to be about, I would kind of think about, whether you got lost and then you got back to reading. I'm thinking about it in that regard. So fast forward, when I was in the first year of college last semester, I had to take a philosophy class called business ethics. That's a good class. And as one of my class for my major, as I at first I thought that it was going to be a boring class, because it was really just a lot of reading and then writing about stuff that really didn't have to do with my major, computer science. So I was looking for a way to get a easy way out, but I was kind of surprised that one of the first articles taken out of Plato's Republic, that one of his first, but I was kind of surprised that one of the first articles taken out of Plato's Republic, which kind of got me back to when I had to read one of his other books. So I read it, and I kind of missed how I used to read through his book. Now that I'm in college, I don't really have time to even do most of the sports that I did when I was in high school, except for basketball. Most of the things that were part of the high school, but now I have a lot more time to just sit down, focus, and read. And since I had to spend a lot of time studying anyways, because I was taking 18 credit hours, if I ever finished early, I'd just chill in the library, reading some of Plato's Apology again, and eventually a little part of his other book called The Republic. Now that I'm reading The Republic, but I've also discovered other philosophers that lived at the time of Plato who were also pretty fun to read. The most of us think that philosophers are kind of boring nerds that like to sound smart when they talk about random crap, but there are some philosophers that were kind of like that, were kind of like massive trolls back in the day. For example, Plato's day, there was a philosopher called there was a philosopher in Athens called Diogenes, who was also called the cynic or the dog, because he was really poor and had some really bad manners. But he used to be kind of a troll, because he used to show up to some of Aristotle's classes. And one time Aristotle was kind of making a joke and said that a man in a featherless biped. So Diogenes left the class and came back with a plucked chicken and told everyone he found him. All right. This is good stuff. I had no idea about this. So thank you for sharing this fun story. There was other philosophers that I didn't like the Platonic era. I'll say this, Ryan. I mean, this is just basic surface level issues. It's not at all a content level. You may want to just kind of reread it for like a slight grammar, because I think when you were typing, you probably didn't get the chance. So there's some like run-ons and some sentences that which needs to be corrected in terms of grammar. But the idea is absolutely wonderful. So like David Hume, yeah, and William Reed, because they were kind of would disagree with everything and be battling each other with their books. Looking back now, I wish I had started this earlier, because something that I really enjoy now and could start and could have started earlier if I hadn't just left it when I was like 9 or 10. But a lot of philosophy gives you cool insights about the subject. Yes, absolutely. Every subject is the why of every subject is grounded in philosophy, and that's a great insight. So I might as well make one myself to demonstrate a little philosophy. Life is going to give and take opportunities from us. We should try to do the best with what we are given. Then there is also more to life than chasing your desires. Although I love philosophy, I don't regret doing all the things that I did during middle school and high school. And we should not become people just live to satisfy desires. Okay, wonderful. So this is what I will say is you may just first thing is you may just want to kind of check and reread it for some grammar, syntax level errors. And other than that, I think that you do get definitely the introduction. You do get attention. The Plato and the Play-Doh connection was absolutely cute and hilarious, actually. And then you do talk about how you got disengaged and how did you come back to this. So through the business ethic class that you took. And then I also like that little anecdote that you shared about. Interestingly, you said that even Plato's time they had trolls, and there was this troll. The little story that you shared, I think that was very interesting. In fact, even though this isn't, this is a profile speech, is pretty informative. You actually kind of you made me think about when was the last time I read something. I do, as I see. This will make you happy. I have this Aristotle's book. Here we go, the Rhetoric, and it's not, I can't read Greek, so it's an English translation of his book, the Rhetoric and the Poetics of Aristotle. But I will now have the Apology and Republic in my to-do list, and if I get through that, Ryan, I will talk to you, and I would love to have a discussion with you. Okay, so I do think you do. The body is good. You get those small little anecdotes here. I do like your I like the insight that you shared about how important philosophy is, because as we just talked about, I think it grounds the why of any subject, whether it's math, whether it's physics, whether it's English, whether it's science. It just and Aristotle, any discussion, and that's a favorite joke of mine, that if any discussion will happen with Aristotle, is there anything that doesn't begin with Aristotle? So such a great philosopher. You can take his philosophy and think about the why in every subject. So I think you do talk about that. However, I'm not very this one I wasn't very clear about that. That you said that you don't regret not missing out on maybe sports, or you mentioned about sports, that you don't regret it, and then people should just live to satisfy our desires. So is the desire doing for you, my question to you, was the desire to do sports and activities and not philosophy, or is philosophy the desire and the sports and activities were a part of your learning? So I wasn't clear. You may want to kind of in the conclusion kind of clarify that. Maybe certain words need to be changed, rearranged to be specific about that, and then tell us because I'm more interested to hear that we should be pursuing our desire. And for me, it seems desire that's what you were talking about, is philosophy. For you, the desire is philosophy. So you need to clarify that. Thanks, Ryan. It was a pleasure reading your speech.